Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby, and I am very happy to be sitting with Cephas Jones, who did great work in Clyde's. And, before I get started on anything, I should say congratulations on your newly minted Drama League nominee as of this morning. How are you feeling after that
Feeling
nomination
excited
announcement?
for the whole process. Clyde's was such a joy to do with the cast that we had and over at Second Stage and having history with them. So I'm really happy for everybody. It's definitely a team effort, especially when it comes to the boards and the theater and doing plays, So anytime you're individually recognized, it's overwhelmingly understood that, you're a part of a cast, you're a part of a team, So I'm happy for everybody at Second Stage in the cast. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very well deserved. And I want to talk about the play because Lynn Nottage is an incredible playwright, but when I saw Clyde's, I was, it's so different than what I normally think of her work, like Sweat or Ruined, that are very gritty and realistic and very intense. But Clyde's finds a way to tackle, heavy topics with a much lighter and different tone. So what was that like for you? What first kind of drew you into the script?
Well, I think it was the same thing that your reaction, right? It was like, oh, this is Lynn Nottage, and it was a joy to watch her laugh, in rehearsal. We laughed a lot, and she would hit you with those lines, as you know, they would come kind of out of nowhere through the character. So it wasn't like jokey funny, it was more character driven funny. And that's where a lot of the heavy laughter usually comes from. It's from someone's behavior, and so I found that so different and refreshing how the writing was. And yet at the same time, she would take you slowly into these levels as the play went on of deeper, darker little issues, man, that would just kind of like blow your mind. It was an incredible piece of writing, how she's able to touch your emotion as well as stimulate your mind, also socially relevant and family-oriented issues, friendship issues, a lot of deep social issues that were beautifully colored with all this humor. So I had always wanted to do a Lynn Nottage play. I've been knowing Lynn for close to 20-something years, and I've done readings and workshops with her, but everything's about timing, and it never came to pass that I was in the right place at the right time when she was doing her other play. So timing was everything for this particular piece. I've been out in Los Angeles doing some television and film work, and the piece came up and I happened to have that piece of time free. And, to be honest with you, Sam, I didn't really have to read the script. It was a Lynn Nottage play and she asked me to do this role. So if she asked me to do the role, then, I was really honored and flattered that, and I knew that it was going to be a good role, no matter how small or big it was. I had the time and I always wanted to do a Lynn Nottage play. So I didn't really have to read the script to say yes, and I think I did. And then I got the script and it was completely blown away.
Yeah. Your character, Montrellous, what struck me and what I was left with after the play is this sense of he's had like many injustices thrown at him in his life. He's experienced incredible unfairness, but he finds this sort of kind of Zen state to be in for a lot of it. The sandwich making is like a spiritual and artistic experience for him in this kitchen. Why is he able to carry on that way and see the beauty in the world despite all this unfairness?
Sometimes, I don't know if I've been around a few 24s, and every now and then you run into people that you automatically feel they've been enlightened. And I don't know if you know anybody like that, but you know people come into your life and they're like at another level, right? And it's like that level that you always dream of. It's like, God, if I could just have that kind of temperament, if I could just control my anger like that, if I could just find something that I'm so passionate about that it's enough to make me feel happy and make me feel whole. And I don't have to keep reaching outside myself for things to make me happy. And I think that's what Montrellous it happened to him while he was incarcerated. And when he came out, he found, like it said in the script, he walked into a supermarket and an artichoke, just kind of enlightened him, right? It was like, there was something about this particular vegetable that he had to take it home, and he started playing with it and doing things with it. And he got into this elevated place where food and preparing food was like a prayer for him, was like, it settled his soul, and it gave him the opportunity to be able to give. So as he's doing something, the food is prepared to give, to eat. So there's a lot of spirituality in food, as we know as well, and gardening, some people find gardening, you're working with your hands, or something that you're doing with your hands and your soul. And that's what Montrellous was to me. He was a man who had been enlightened. And I've come across many men and women in my life that have that ability to be enlightened, and you go to them for energy, for some of that Zen-like quality, especially as you get older, and you start to understand what life is really about. So, yeah.
So would you say did you draw on any of those people to sort of get inspired by this character?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, he was certainly based on several men and women that I've known, relatives and very close friends as well. Several of which I still am in touch with and still get a chance to talk to every now and then, and mentors and mentees, but men and women that have mentored me on my journey when I was faltering, when I was in the journey of peaks and valleys, and turned to them for enlightenment, and my mother being one, very, very good dear friend that still is around. So most definitely drew off of that, and as well as all the information that Lynn was giving me in regards to her vision of Montrellous, and then giving me the ability to embody those thoughts, as well as match them with my own history and my own experiences.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, the way he's enlightened makes that scene where he's sort of crushed after the article comes out, and seems like he gives up for a moment. It makes that fall so heartbreaking. What was that like to play him and sort of at his depths?
Well, it was certainly wonderful doing it with a craftsman like Uzo. I mean, that was what it was about, building that particular relationship when she comes in and just bursts his bubble and everyone else in regards to like his ideas and thoughts about how making a sandwich can actually change your life, and but he bounces back, and he says to the younger characters that, we're here to do this and we're going to get through it, and eventually coming out of that sort of middle place between what looks like heaven and hell, purgatory, right? And once he steps out of that, it gives them the ability to say, we're going to go in this direction and not stay in this hell that we're all living in right now, and he had the ability to help them live in this hell and dream, so that one day possibly they would get out of that hell and be more independent and not dependent on that, which is a metaphor for life, right? There were a lot of little metaphors in there: heaven and hell, dark and light. Those were very obvious things in how she played inside that never-ending story of light and dark,
Yeah, I enjoyed how, speaking of those metaphors, the ending kind of leaves things up, I think, to interpretation for the audience, and you could really envision them that this was purgatory if you wanted to read the play that way. And it's really beautiful to watch all of the actors kind of step out of that space at the end. What did that ending mean for you?
It meant all of it. I didn't choose. I like the idea of knowing that it could have been all those things for me, it was that. It was stepping out of purgatory. It was also an idea of what it is to be independent, to believe in something, when you get to that point in your life where you have to take that risk. Happens to artists all the time, where it's like, am I going to work or am I going to be an artist? When am I going to continue to feel like I'm struggling and not getting where I want to get to? So it had that for me. Definitely the dark and light. I think that was the most thing I got out of it, is that the metaphor of dark and light, how you want to live your life, even when you have negative thoughts that can make you feel dark, or you have bright thoughts that make you feel light each day. Something as simple as that for me was enough. I think it was really about choosing light and also having faith and working through fear, which is one of the most difficult things to do in life, is to battle our fears. And I think that's what Montrellous represented. He got himself to the place where he could be enlightened enough to not let his fears stop him from doing what makes him feel happy.
Well, I spoke to Kara Young recently, who had very fond memories of working with you, and was talking a lot about, she's a member of Labyrinth Theatre, as you have been for a while, which has such, I think, an important place in the theater landscape. What is your experience with Labyrinth mean to you? What kind of memories do you carry forward?
Family. It's my first major theater family in New York. Those cats brought me in and with open arms, and also educational. I learned the trajectory of my career changed when I learned how to really what it was to be a craftsman and what it was to study. A lot of that came through, people like Paul Calderone and John Ortiz and Philip Seymour Hoffman in particular, when we started working with him, directing Stephen Adley Girgis's plays, which kind of gave me an opportunity to really work on my chops through Jesus Off the A Train, Our Lady of 121st Street, and even The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. Although I didn't get an opportunity to do it in New York, I did do it in London with Rupert Gould and an all-English cast a year or so later. But I worked on that play as well and workshopped it. So that's what Lab has represented for me and continues to, is it was the beginning of groundbreaking theater. We were just, like earthquaking through New York and London, man. I mean, the technique and the ability to bond with one another with those kind of words and those kind of plays, I mean, everything seemed to come together, Sam, in a way that was just unique. It was a unique time and continues to be. Those cats are still going strong and moving, and young cats are trying to come through there and continue to do that type of brand of acting where you're not acting. And that's a whole nother level of study and, actioning, and a whole nother conversation that we could have for hours about technique, man, and things like that are very Shakespearean, really is about the words and understanding words, nouns, pronouns, prepositional phrases, how paragraphs are put together, tonality, rhythm, a lot of those kind of conversations. Yeah.
Well, it's really nice to have had you back on stage with this production. I think it's specifically with Broadway, we hadn't seen you on stage since 2014 with Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
And right. You were doing a little show called This Is Us, so we understand why. But is now that run is concluded with This Is Us, is stage something that's on your horizon? What are you interested in right now?
Always. I still have a bucket list, man. I gotta do the Delacorte. I want to do the National. I mean, I have a bucket list, man, and I'll always long for the boards. It's where my roots are. So I want to get to some classical work, and some new contemporary work as well, working with writers like Dominique Morisseau, Katori Hall, and Stephen Adley Gergis, and, you know, as well as go back and do some of the classics. You know, I had an opportunity to work with Travis Preston at Cal Arts and did a production of Prometheus Bound at the Getty Villa, which was a tremendous piece of work. You know, Aeschylus, you know, like stuff like that. I would love to get back to. You know, I think I'm old enough now where I would love to take a stab at Lear. So there are a few things. You know, I worked with the Classical Theatre of Harlem and Ty Jones and did Prospero and the Tempest up there, and that was a wonderful experience. So I hope that you know, God willing, you know, I'll be able to find some time and work with the right people. And but I'll definitely be back to New York one time. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see. Hopefully, those classics seem like they would be wonderful fits for you. I do want to ask before we go, because I remember talking to your daughter Jasmine right before she won her Emmy, but that you also won an Emmy in that cycle. What is it like to share that? That's a pretty, you know, I can't think of anyone else who had that close of an experience with someone. What is it like to share that kind of moment with your daughter?
Oh boy, I mean, it's been everything. My daughter represents a lot for me in my life. You know, she was a theater baby, I guess you would say. You know, she went through a lot, you know, homework in dressing rooms and sitting in the lighting booth, and, you know, ever since she was a little girl. So to have come this far, and I must say, it wasn't all coincidence. You know, there was a major plan in work in my head while I was doing all this, you know, very King Richard-like, you know, where, you know, I was doing a lot of teaching and a lot of lecturing in those car rides and in the dressing room about her being an actor. And finally, she made a decision herself that she wanted to be an actor, you know. So I brought her into the lab, and they embraced her as family and taught her a lot. She went to the workshops and did the getaways, and, you know, she put in the work. She went to Berkeley for 3 years, School of Music, graduated from the Neighborhood Playhouse 2-year program. So she, you know, it's not a coincidence, you know. So, and then to come to fruition where to be the first father-daughter duo to win Emmys in the same year. I mean, you know, there's not many words, you know, before I start tearing up about it. It's very profound, but at the same time, you know, I feel so blessed to be able to have my child, you know, do her thing. She's taking it to the next level, man. You know, she's got her own show. She's executive producing. She's developing. She's doing her thing. I'm very, very, very proud of her.
Well, it's amazing that a memory to carry forward, both of you winning there, and it's fantastic work in Clyde's this season. So thank you, Ron, for sitting down with me. Congratulations on
absolutely
Drama League.
World.
All right, thank you so much. For everyone who's out there watching, subscribe to Gold Derby and stay with us throughout the rest of this Broadway season. Thank you, Ron.
All right, talk to you soon.